So should you start a real estate team? I think that's a great question. Yesterday I had a phone call with a lady, and she's really been in business a long time. She asked me a great question and followed up with a bunch of other questions. And so this morning when I was working out, I was thinking about how should you answer that? I started having all these thoughts and I was like, man, this is going to be a good YouTube video. So I want to share this with you if you've ever had that question. So for me, I can only share based upon my experience, right? And in my experience, the difference of a team and not having a team is the difference of a business and not having a business. I think it's totally cool for people to have a job. You know, one of the things that you got to look at real estate, and one of the things my mentor always said to me was, people get into real estate by default, right? And so a lot of the times, a majority of the people that get in real estate, they've wanted to get in, they move somewhere, so they find it's their opportunity to do so, they lose their job, go through a divorce, need extra income. A lot of people find themselves in this business as a source of income, so they attack it that way. You know, they're just really looking to trade their time for money. I would advise you to be a little bit more aspirational than that. And I think the way that you do that, you have to change your current state, okay? First of all, you have to, because you cannot engineer the business of your dreams or even think about real estate as a business if you're just trying to survive. They say it's hard to dream when you're trying to survive. And so a lot of people out there, real estate is a means for them to try to survive. They want to go part-time, full-time. If you can like future pace yourself out to 3 to 5, 10 years from now, we'll just take 5 years and say, okay, 5 years from now, if I could have the dream situation, dream meaning if I knew failure was not an option, what would it look like? And I think it's at that point that you're able to introduce the concept of getting leverage through people, the things that you like to do. And if you do that from, let's say, 5 year, 3 year, 2 year, 1 year, at some point, what you're going to do is you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to need to have some help. And this is where I really think the case that I made a few years back of the solo agent, the death of the solo agent, I think it was actually 2016, I said, you know, over the next 10 years, you're going to see a Darwinian thinning of the herd. You're going to see a disproportionate of market share being grabbed by other agents. And I know this to be true. This is actually happening. I've seen agents go from hundreds of deals being a big deal to thousands of transactions. I think I specifically said in the future, there's going to be real estate teams that do 10,000 transactions. They're going to be in multiple locations. And the reason why is because it's efficient. It's more efficient. I think it's foolish for you to think you're the best videographer, photographer, copywriter, person to show a buyer, a seller, as far as do the presentation, negotiate the deal, do the contract to close, all of that stuff. We all know that real estate is comprised of many, many, many different functions when you look at it as a business. And so my encouragement to everybody would be, yes, you should be looking at real estate as a business, not a job. And if that is, if the language and the vernacular that's been created prior to you getting here and that evolution was labeled as a team, then yes, you can call it a team. You know, we don't call people in a restaurant a team. Maybe you do. Maybe you got the cook and the waiter and the manager, and you have the person who's ordering produce and washing the dishes. Maybe you call that a team. But to me, we call that a restaurant. And what we call this is a real estate business. And so the real question is so why do people do it that way? And I'll tell you why. It's because in real estate, you don't have to have any inventory. And so you can go get a license, get into real estate, instantly be in the business of making great income. And as your income goes up, your lifestyle goes up, and next thing you know, you're living off that transactional income. And the hardest thing for someone to do is to give away a portion of that income they could have in order to get their time back. And so it goes back to how you value your time. For me, I value my time. When I got into real estate, it was interesting because I was dating someone that was not in Texas. And so my time on the weekends were extremely valued to me. And so that was a benefit because it made me think of hiring other people to work with the buyers on the weekend. And so at the end of my first 12 months, I had 3 buyers agents on my team. But I started being able to build a real estate business because I was able to invest in my business and get the things that people who wanted to be a part of my business or be on my team, things that they appreciated, meaning I started being able to create value. I had a sales team, an outside sales team, I had an inside sales team. And so a few things to think of in order to start, going into that direction. If you decided you want a business, then remember that on your team, you have people that are services sell and people who create a sell. And it's always good to try to do the revenue generating activities as quickly as you can. It's always good for you to step out of the role that you change the outcome in the most, that produces the most revenue for the company. So you are in production, you are a part of the team, but you have to reverse engineer what things and what functions you're gonna give up in the business first. We always tell people, hey, let's write down everything we don't like and let's get somebody else to help them. I add another layer or filter to that. Show me the fixed expenses and variable expenses. And what I mean by that is if I can pay someone to put a sign out, if I can pay someone to put a listing in the MLS, and I only have an expense associated to my business when there's a transaction, then those are really cost of goods sold. And so I can go out and get virtual assistants to help assist me and provide value to the team and give me my time back so that I can do the higher leveraged activities. And then I can continue to layer on until I have somebody. I think the ultimate thing would be to step out of production, but before that you would have to get somebody into operations, and then you'd have to get somebody over sales, and all those people would have to have different functions and roles in which they were responsible for. If you could have the dream, your dream real estate business 5 years from now, assuming that you could not fail, then what would you attempt to build? And then break that down and reverse engineer it to, okay, if this is what it looks like organizational wise, what's it look like, if it's not 5 years, what's it look like in half of that time? And then divide that in half. Now what's it look like in 12 months? What's it look like in 6 months? And realize that when you're on your way to building a team, and if you do it right, when you get somebody on your team, if they're an expense, meaning you're paying them to do a function and you've trained them properly, and you made the proper decisions in your business, you'll probably feel like I felt, which was, why didn't I do this sooner? And I'd pay them triple if they tried to quit, right? Those are like, I would enthusiastically rehire them. I should have done this sooner, and I'd pay them, let's say, double if they had to leave because they were bringing so much value to the company. My favorite hire is the ISA, inside sales agent. I think that's one of the best hires you can make. I think it's foolish to think that someone's job should be calling people cold forever. I think you should always have inside sales department, just like any other business. Like a restaurant has someone that cleans the dishes because the people who eat in the restaurant don't want to eat on dirty dishes. Everybody's got to do part of the job. But you've heard of the dish person becoming the cook, becoming the manager, owning their own store. People can move up. And so I just think that that's a good perspective to think through, is that inside sales is a great indoctrination to real estate because people learn those skills. And if it's the right person and they have the right training, then you will produce more than the expense. And if you're like me, you would have paid them triple, if not quadruple, not to leave, because who would not want to invest a quarter in their business and get $1? You would actually want to scale. Anyway, so I wanted to share that. I thought it was a great question. I realized that I had never really broken it down that way, but those are the thoughts that came to mind. And if you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, turn on notifications. We put out new content like this every single week. Yeah, and if you haven't subscribed, I'd love for you to subscribe. And like we always say, the best life to live is a life by strategy.